everyone, and welcome to Beginnings, the show that asks, where do creative people come from? My name is Andy. I'm the host of the show and a writer and performer based in Los Angeles, California. How are you doing this week? I'm doing okay. Got a great talk for you today with musician Satomi Matsuzaki. If you don't know who Satomi is, why don't I read you her bio right now? Originally from Tokyo, Japan, Satomi moved to San Francisco in 1995 to study film production, but within a week of immigrating, she joined the nascent rock group Deerhoof and has been a member ever since. In the intervening years, the band has released over 24 albums, EPs, and live albums on labels like Kill Rock Stars and Polyvinyl, among many others, and their latest, Miracle Level, was released at the end of March on Joyful Noise Recordings, and like everything they do, it's great. Highly recommended. So, what can I tell you about the episode today? Is this even necessary? I can understand if there was like a note I needed to give you about the audio quality or something like that, but this is almost like, you know how trailers these days, the first 5 seconds are a preview of the trailer? Anyway, I guess I do have a slight note, which is that today's episode is a little shorter than usual. I think I like doing an hour. I think by the half-hour mark is when you really start getting into the good stuff. But as we talk about this at the end of this episode, Satomi is kind of used to Greg being the mouthpiece for Deerhoof, and she didn't know what we were going to talk about, so she requested a shorter episode. I think she thought it was going to be like an hour about me asking like, what pedals do you use, or hey, tell me your bass string, your preference, or whatever. Which, yeah, I would not want to talk about any of that stuff for 5 minutes, let alone 60. But we do talk about a lot of things I didn't know about her. We talk about her childhood in Tokyo and a little bit about COVID safety at the beginning, just because Deerhoof is one of the few bands that still is asking their audience to mask up. I've never understood this. Maybe, audience, you can explain it to me. But knowing that it's still not great out there, virus-wise, if you were seeing your favorite band or your favorite stand-up, would you not want to mask up to protect this person that has created all of this music or comedy that brings joy into your life? I would think that was a no-brainer, but I am apparently in the... Well, I was going to say minority, but maybe that's just the way it seems, because I saw some polls, and maybe I am in the majority. But yeah, what a great band, Deerhoof, both on a musical level, on a ethical level, on a political level. Just awesome people. And I hope you enjoy this talk with Satomi. And if you do, I've been doing this show for 13 years, and what I like to do here in the beginning is a little recommended if you like this talk. Maybe you'll like other episodes I've done, and you'll check them out. Why? Okay, Satomi, part of Deerhoof. Well, I've talked to Greg from Deerhoof. I've talked to their former guitarist, Chris Cohen. What about other musicians that might strike your fancy? I've talked to Nels Klein, Thurston Moore, just a couple weeks ago, Orrin M. Barchi, Terry Riley, Mary Timony. That's just a handful. I've talked to hundreds of musicians, but also writers and stand-ups and actors and artists. So check out all those episodes and subscribe if you like what you hear. Leave a review if you can. It takes 5 seconds on Apple Podcast. What else? I'm Andy Beckerman on Twitter and Instagram. Twitter, I don't know about it. Still trying to just write jokes, but it's getting more and more difficult. I say that every week, and every week it is more and more difficult to just write jokes on there. But I'm there for now, so I guess follow me. And coming up next week, Rachel from Water From Your Eyes, and thanks for coming. That was a really cool talk, so stay tuned for that. But for now, let's talk to Satomi. My wife and I are really COVID conscious and try to like make everything as safe as possible. But we both have allergies, so we're constantly in this state of, do we have COVID or is it just our allergies acting up? And it's like that all the time.
Yeah, me too. That's true. So I keep testing, every time I get some weird symptom. Same.
Yeah. And then it just turns out it's 99.9% of the time, it just turned out to be allergies. Or like she had acid reflux last night. And she's like, I think it's just acid reflux.
Yeah. I've never had COVID yet. Like, I never had a positive, result. So I'm not sure, I'm still kind of trying to be very careful in the, train, and I wear masks still. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
How's over there in Los Angeles?
People are pretending like everything's normal again. It's this crazy denialism that is, it's really dry. It reminds me of, I don't know if it felt like this for you, but during the Bush years when they attacked Iraq, and like a lot of us were like, this is crazy. We know that they don't have weapons of mass destruction, and we know that they are like, none of the things that the Bush administration is telling us are true. But like the entire media apparatus was telling us that, no, we have to do this. And I was just like, this feels crazy to me. It's the same thing now here in Los Angeles, in America, period.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Yeah, I don't, at the time, I wasn't really using internet, and, I just talked to my friends about this crazy news, about, Iraq, and, it was really, upsetting. Everybody in San Francisco, I used to live there, in San Francisco, and,
right.
We were all really kind of, upset, we were young and upset,
I mean, you're in Tokyo right now, right?
No, I'm in Brooklyn.
Oh, you're in New York. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I live in New York, in Brooklyn, where near the Spectrum, I don't know, some weird big headquarters or something.
Oh, okay. Well, I was about to ask you about like what is how it feels there, but I guess you're in Brooklyn. You're in the same soup I'm in.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, I go to Tokyo twice a year, so I'm often there. But I base here in Brooklyn.
Oh, okay, yeah. So you're feeling the same kind of like everyone's pretending it's over, yet it's still raging around us, and I'm just like holding my temples, like rubbing them all the time, just being like, what is happening?
Yeah, but New York, I feel like I still see maybe 1/3 of them wearing masks in the train, Yeah. So I have, I just relate to these people, and, we kind of, look at each other, we kind of connect, in the train,
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's great. That's great. Yes. Yeah. That kind of solidarity.
Mm-hmm. And with the band, we go on tour, and Deerhoof is still very strict about, mask, and our audience very, very good. Like they really, we put up the sign, would you please wear a mask? And people really try to do that, and I appreciate that, we understand, and they understand, we connect in the same level. Yeah. It's a miracle level.
Yeah, it is. My wife's a stand-up, and so she is very like, when she does a show, when she can control it, when she headlines, it's a masked show.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's just like then we've got like all these kind of like precautions. Like we use this spray, this Anovid spray that it's supposed to it's a nitric oxide. I have no idea. It's in clinical trials at the moment. I have no idea if it really works, but at the very least, it's a placebo that makes us feel slightly less anxious.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
Yeah, it's in phase 2 clinical trials in Britain, so it's not like it is. It's not like it's ivermectin or something like that, but it's not fully, they haven't fully done testing on it, but I don't know. It's worked for us so far, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I am kind of curious, growing did you grow up in Tokyo though?
Yeah, I grew up in Tokyo, where near these high rises you see often, in the news, not Shibuya, but I don't know if you've been there. Do you know Shinjuku?
Kind of from, watching
Yeah.
movies, but
Right.
not from,
Like Lost in Translation, that movie, they show a lot of those kind of stereotypical, very big buildings and so many people walking around, scramble crossings and stuff. Yeah. So I used to hang out there, like really in high rise. Me and my friends, took a bicycle to Shinjuku high rise, and we used the elevator, up to 50th floor, and we just kind of run down the stairs, the 50th floors, we just kind of compete, that was the kind of our fun.
Was running down 50 flights of stairs.
Yeah. Because, nobody used the stairs, those businessmen. So the kids can, use the stairs, and nobody cares.
What was this, during the 1980s?
Yeah, it was 80s. 85. Yeah, 85, 86, yeah. And then we had cheesecake on the 50th floor. There was a cafe, and we were kids, and, we brought few coins, and they served us cheesecake, and we shared one cheesecake or something. And so that was fun,
Yeah. That sounds like a fun time anywhere, no matter where you are.
Yeah.
You run around and eat cheesecake. Sounds great.
Yeah. So I grew up there, and I'm an only child. So, I had friends from school. I hung out, mostly by myself when I was up until 10 or something. I was very introvert, really shy. So I had, nose bleeding, playing by myself, and I tried to hide that my nose was bleeding or something, and some other kid pointed at me and oh, Satomi-chan's bleeding, and I was really embarrassed, that kind of kid.
Wait, what made you so embarrassed about, it's not like a character defect to have a nosebleed. What made you so embarrassed?
I don't know. I didn't I was embarrassed that everybody was gonna look at me, and point at me that, that kind of feeling oh, she's, look at her, I really didn't want to stick out. So it's very strange, now that I'm, I go on stage, I never imagined to be, on stage. I always wanted to be kind of a backstage, or the I was always visual artist, I always liked drawing and, building a theater's, props, that was my dream. Actually, before I moved to San Francisco, I wanted to be a professional, a prop maker, for the theaters. I just thought that was very interesting, and I did that for high school years too. I made, a king throne for the theater and stuff.
Do you know what it was that appealed to you about prop making?
I think because, it's kind of craft, and then it was nice I liked all the clay, making clay art or a sculpture. It's 3D, but also I was interested in stories, fiction. I always liked fictions, and so I could see all this, the theater has stories, and I can do something, make some weird props, and it's so colorful, those Japanese shows, they had really colorful, stage props. And I even auditioned not auditioned, how do you call this? I tried to get a job at a TV company where they could, hiring a prop makers, and for $6 an hour or something, which is very cheap, right then it was like Japanese economy was like really surging. I mean, it's the peak, and so, it was cheap, but I still wanted to do it. And then, they didn't accept me. So, I'm like, oh, well, so it's so like competitive to get the, artistic job in Japan, not like Hollywood. It's, I don't know, maybe Hollywood is competitive too. I never tried to, get a job there, but, in Japan, it was very hard. I tried to work at the theater. I tried to, talk to the movie theater. I wanted to run the tape to the film, like an old style tape. And there were like 20 people in line, for the job interview. And they didn't accept me. And so, I don't know, I had so much, things that I wanted to do it. And they didn't accept me. But so I ended up in San Francisco. I mean, I went to San Francisco to learn film production, and it's all kind of connected. I was interested in props, and I was interested in music. Everything was together for in the film. It's everything together combined. So I was so into it, and I watched films all day long. Before I moved to San Francisco, so I was so excited. But then I joined the Deerhoof right away. So, I guess it just naturally, I just kind of, was attracted to, just play music, because I found a way to connect to film through music too.
Mm-hmm. Can I ask, when you said like you didn't want people to, when you were younger, you didn't want people to look at you. I identify with that. When I was younger, I didn't want people to look, I kind of wanted to just fade into the background a little bit, but I also at the same time did want people to look at me, if that makes any sense. And I wonder if you had that same kind of like, I wanted to just like I wore like quote unquote normal clothing. Like I didn't wear any, I wear the same stuff I wear now, which is like band t-shirts and hoodies and things like that when I was younger, because I just wanted to like fit in with everyone else. And I think because I thought I was a weird person. And so as long as I could blend in,
right,
I could be weird. However I wanted to be, but as long as I still like was like everyone else. And I wonder if you felt similar.
Yeah, I didn't think I wanted to be like weird, or I loved fashion. I was so into like American culture and like all these punks and like Sex Pistols and all that stuff. And I was so into fashion and music, and so I was actually wearing something very like strikingly, kind of a Harajuku kind of style. But, in Tokyo, it's like LA, everybody dresses up. So you don't really stick out no matter what, what you do, So I didn't mind when they pay attention to my fashion, but I didn't want to be weird in like some kind of a, I don't know, strange way. I don't know. I maybe I wanted to be cool. Now I think about it. I don't know. I was very quiet too. I didn't make friends in the beginning. I think I became more sociable after I became friends with kind of popular kids, in school.
Mm-hmm.
Then I felt more comfortable or something. But maybe I wasn't confident, or I don't know. It's a weird thing about being young, going through a lot of, push and pull, because I wasn't sure, if I wanted to be friend with this group or that group, or, it's a lot of trouble, I really sympathize with all the young kids, who are going through this thing, and in Japan, so many kids also commit suicide,
Mm-hmm.
It's very fragile, and when I was in junior high school, the kids were violent somehow.
Wait, what do you
somehow,
mean?
Have you seen these Japanese like kids who are used to be violent in like late 80s or something? they were like I don't know, they were like punching teachers or like kicking, throwing sandals at teachers or like when they I don't know, they were violent, and I was kind of scared of them. But now the kids are not violent in Japan. I don't know. It's very strange. You probably don't know this.
No, I mean, my only access is like through, say, like anime, where there are like teenage biker gangs and things like that. And I don't know how much of that is real or how much of that is just imaginary.
Yeah, that's the time. The Japanese violent motorcycle, those delinquents. They were, around when I was young. They don't exist that much anymore in Japan. Did you know?
Not really. No. So okay. So that was real. So at one point there were
that was real.
There were gangs of delinquents.
Yeah, and they were very violent, And now the kids are so nice, and they don't drink. Like when I go back to Japan, I notice, kids really are nice, The kids I meet. I mean, these music kids and stuff. But my time, I saw many messed up kids who are very scary.
Huh. Do you know what they were reacting to?
But kids are often angry. I think they didn't really know how to express anger. Maybe now, like, kids are more, in Japan, more, I don't know, doing their stuff, like playing music or found other way to find what they want to do,
Uh-huh.
Yeah, what do you think? Like, in US, how did it change, or like, has it changed?
Yes, there's there are definite differences between generations. They're not as, when everyone's like, well, Gen Z is like this. I don't know who that character is, but like with the person who's like, Gen Z is like this, there are general characteristics that I think are different. I think Gen Z is more open and more welcoming in general than older generation, than certainly like the boomers and things like that. But it's such a different, I'm curious just because it's like such, again, I'm only accessing the culture through movies and television and books. But in America, everything seems so atomized and fragmented by capitalism that, and everyone is just like disconnected from each other in such a way that I think, especially, there was a point where I don't think people had a lot, especially maybe before the internet. And I'm wondering if this is maybe the same thing that was going on when you were growing up, where people didn't have as many outlets as they had today. So, and therapy wasn't a thing. So everything was bottled up, and it came out as anger or it came out as depression or something like that. And I don't know if
yeah, I really, noticed when I moved here, Americans follow politics much more than Japanese. Japanese people don't choose their prime minister, like not directly, and so they don't, like, most kids are not following politics, which is very different, and I think, like, Japan's more like a socialist, so it's like people are kind of comfortable already. They they take care of you pretty good, and so the kids just think about themselves, and so it's not really I don't know how to compare, the kids in America and the kids in Japan. I don't think Japanese kids are upset at government, for example.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Along these same lines, do you know what changed in you when you going from someone who was kind of insular and private to being the front person for a band? What changed in you that allowed you to do that?
like comparing to like when I was in Japan, or like are you?
Yeah, like when you were
Like,
younger, you said you were kind of a private
All right.
person, and I think
Yeah.
I think that like to be the front person for a band, you can't be that private. So what changed?
Right.
Like what changed
Well,
internally in you that allowed you to do that?
Yeah, I think that I was still very shy when I joined Deerhoof. But the Greg and Rob, Rob was the bass player when I joined the band. They were really encouraging me to kind of, do whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, oh, that kind of encouragement I never had in Japan. Like, oh, do whatever you want. There's always this little bit of like, you have to follow the rules, or like, you are expected to not to, do something. I don't know. There's some kind of this untalked like rules that you have to follow. This kind of Japanese people always look each other look like kind of if you do something in the public, you are not supposed to act weird or like do this kind of behavior. Like they're like policing on each other. In the U.S., I felt San Francisco. Artistically, I didn't find it to be. I found it to be very free, and I thought, all the friends we had in San Francisco were doing so. I don't know how to call wild, I never thought that you could do that on stage, kind of thing, So I was really. It was like open. I opened up a lot after I moved to San Francisco. I went to high school in England, so I knew how to be free, or how like artistic expression can be really beautiful and super touching. Could be very not physically violent, but could be very violent. And I really, Greg and Rob let me go through all that together, and with everybody we played with, it was really life-changing experience for me. And I still feel really, appreciate that I joined this band who, that doesn't give me any rules, Like for example, like I don't need to play bass, or like, oh, I don't want to sing, maybe they're like, okay, that's fine, you want to play guitar, they're very free, and we can be anything, like we can play reggae music, and oh, let's play reggae music, and they probably say, okay, let's do it, it's really fun.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So wait, how did you end up going to high school in England?
I wanted to go to England. I felt that Japan was a little bit too, Tokyo. I felt the capacities. It's not really. I could go, to other place to try out. The Tokyo city seemed boring, at the time. Like I kind of felt the limit, and so I wanted to see the other world, I wanted to see what other people think in other world. I wanted to have more imaginations, and I wanted to experience the world's imagination, and I think I did it, I think it's great, now people don't travel that much because you can kind of experience it on, like on Google Map or something. I think it's boring, you go there and you talk to people and you get lost, and then you ask, oh, where, and like I liked having a map and asking people like, how do I get there? That kind of communication really made me very strong,
Yeah.
Cause I don't need, my parents. I can be by myself and explore something, and it's my experience, and it's really positive to connect the world, with different language, and the different language has different power, and I don't know, it just gave me, it opened up so much. I don't think if I didn't go to England, I ended up in San Francisco, because then I couldn't speak English, but because I learned English when I was, 15, I went to England. So, I could speak English. So I wanted to talk to the bands, I went to the concert and I talked to people, to the bands, and I communicated and I became friends with, that opened up my life so much.
And your parents were okay with this?
Yeah. My parents are quite kind of unique. I don't know. My mom was a hairstylist, and she had customers coming in. We had a house that the hair salon was connected to my house. so our kitchen, if you open the door, there was a hair salon. And so hair salons, customers often gave me snacks and drinks, Satomi-chan, and so we were all kind of friends, and the community, everybody lived, around the hair salon too. So I ran into them all the time. And, they convinced my mom, my mom was cutting their hairs and my daughter wants to go to England, and she's still, 15 years old, too young, don't you think? She could wait until 18th. And then her customers no, she should travel, you should let her go, And so the customer kind of helped me to go out there. And it was, they are really funny people. And I, without their help, I don't think I could leave the house. My dad was very upset, but because I was the only child, but I'm very happy about that.
What did your dad do for a living at the time?
My dad worked at the post office in Tokyo, kind of office headquarters in Tokyo Station.
Were they imaginative people? Did they use their imaginations a lot?
Yeah, I don't know. We three of us are kind of didn't spend so much time other than a dinner time. And because we were all busy, maybe I was busy hanging out with my friends, but I think we silently connected, I talked a lot after I became adult, with my parents after they retired, and they are happy about it. Yeah.
Because I was just wondering if, when you said that you, Greg and Rob, they kind of or in San Francisco in general, kind of gave you this freedom to do what you want. And I was wondering, was that feeling kind of repressed and pushed down when you were growing up, and then you finally get to San Francisco and you're allowed to open up? Is that kind of what was going on?
No, I wasn't repressed at all.
Okay.
At all in Tokyo. I think I just felt that Tokyo was just kind of, at the time, it felt like everybody was kind of fun seekers. You know what I mean? The economy was peaking, and everybody had so much money, and it was very money oriented city, and so in a way, to me, America was more punk rock, because America, everything was cheap when I came here. I felt wow, I had three other roommates in San Francisco, but my room was not so small. And, we had a whole floor, and, we had kitchen and living room, and I paid $300 per month, Now it's crazy, how expensive it was. Yeah. And it was kind of like that in Tokyo when I left Tokyo. So it's actually now opposite, Tokyo is much cheaper now, And now in New York, everything is just so expensive.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I think, I don't know why they can't control the price, a little bit more, It's just, it's so hard to live here.
They're not interested in controlling the price. They're the like Jerome Powell and the Fed and places like that. They're interested in disciplining workers to the point where you just take whatever job you can, no matter what the pay is. I mean, that's sadly why it feels so like awful here is that it's designed that way.
Yeah, so the poor people, stay poor and the rich people stay rich. And, I see struggle, here, So now when I go back to Japan and I see, old people getting taken care of, I think Japan's good, good country to live, after retirement.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so you grew up with like I know you have to run soon, but like you grew up with like a kind of feeling of community?
Yeah, very much. I was friend with like, old couple a block away from, my place. And I went there after school to hang out with, those old couples, watching TV, and they gave me like tangerines and like green tea and stuff. My mom, worked until 10 p.m. every day, like 9 to 10.
Oh, wow.
And my dad worked also like, sometimes night shift. So they were so busy, so they, were like, yeah, go to that old couple's house, just, be there until, my work's over. So the community kind of took care of me. And, I think which is rare now in the city.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it was kind of like a countryside,
Yeah.
That idea, yeah.
So, okay, sorry. Last thing. When you were in England, were there creative things? Were you still making props and things like that in England, or were you doing other creative things?
Yeah, I did ceramics. I did films. I did all kinds of fine arts. I wanted to be a visual artist, so I finished all the general education the first 2 years. So the third year in high school, it was a private high school. I did mostly ceramics and paintings and those things. Mm-hmm. And this taking photos, photography class,
Yeah. Do you think you found a community there?
No, because I was in dormitory. So I was just, I had lots of friends in a dorm. Mm-hmm. You know how it is in dorm. So
yeah,
and 3 years. And then I came back to Tokyo. I went back there and spent almost 2 years. And I had like many, like not many, but few part-time jobs to make money to go to San Francisco. And and that's how I started in the band, Dear Hoof.
That's amazing. Thank you for taking the time. I've been a huge fan for decades now, so I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. I hope I said something.
Yeah.
I'm not. I usually, Greg is a talker, and I'm not the one. So I don't feel comfortable, taking lead on. Conversation in the interview, but, this was fun because it wasn't about like albums or like, you don't ask me about my pedals or like, the technique or something. And I'm not good at talking about like techniques and stuff, like or production or something.
Yeah, no, I mean, if someone wants to talk about that, I'll talk about it, but that's not what I'm really curious about. But I don't. Yeah. No,
I loved your comedy thing too. Like I watched, your channel and, very funny.
Thank you.
So I'm happy that you interviewed me.
Yeah, no. I mean, gosh, yeah. I literally listening to Dear Hoof for decades at this point. So thanks so much. And we'll see you next time. Bye. Bye, oh, bye, oh, bye, oh, bye, oh, bye.